The arrest of two black men at a Philadelphia Starbucks in April raised questions about how companies train their employees to avoid racial bias. A recent Harvard study found discrimination is prevalent in the customer service industry.
Among other things, it found hotel workers gave 20% more restaurant recommendations to white customers than to blacks or Asians. A restaurant chain in the Washington area is tackling the issue.
Can you be colorblind in America?
No. Being colorblind is like completely rejecting somebody's culture and who they are and how they are.
This is kind of my headquarters because I live.
Race has perplexed artist turned restaurateur Andy Shalal since he first came to America in 1966 as a 10-year-old Iraqi refugee.
My family lived in Virginia, and back then I was introduced to race in America.
It hit you right in the face.
Absolutely, because I was a small boy with an afro and darker skin. Sometimes thought I was black. Some people thought I was white. Some people thought I was who knows what.
What does a kid make of that?
It's confusing because I didn't know anything about race.
Shalal set out to create a community where people of different cultures and races could interact. He shares his vision with employees every couple of weeks at anti-bias trainings.
For a lot of white people, for instance, I always hear them say that I'm colorblind. Like that's the ultimate space to be in, which means that you don't see color and therefore you don't have any racism or prejudice in your bones.
That's ignorant.
Is that possible?
When saying you're colorblind, it's like you don't really see me. It's not to be colorblind. Your goal should be more to see me, see my culture, and appreciate that.
How does race impact the way you serve?
For me, I'm not going to say race doesn't exist. It does. But I bring my same attitude to any table that I go to.
When, let's say, a host at the front door, it's a Saturday morning, we just open the door. Let's say the entire space is open at that moment in time. So the hostess wants to seat people according to sections. So the black couple walks in through the door. They walk through an entire empty restaurant, and they get seated in that back corner. What is the black couple thinking?
Basically, put them in the back. Yeah.
Why are you sitting in the back?
I've had that happen to me. Like, yeah, he sat me by the bathroom. I was going by the rotation, and this server had gotten in. They were like first in, and they hadn't got any tables yet.
So you just set them randomly at the next table.
But what you have to do is explain. You have to keep the lines of communication open, because if you don't, then people will think this, and that's what
Now, let me ask you this. Let me go back to my example. What if a white couple walks in, and they get seated in that back corner? What's the white couple thinking?
They got the whole room to ourselves, honey.
Yeah. What does the hostess look like?
Oh, it depends what the hostess looks like.
Everyone reads the book by its cover, no matter what you think.
I was having this conversation with a gentleman the other day in the Uber ride on the way to work. And he said, why is being black different than being any other race or any other color?
Was he black or was he?
He was black. And I was like, because they can see us coming. Physically, you can see us coming, and you can make your perception from there.
What about main takeaways here? How are you going to change the way you do your job?
To me, this discussion is a mindfulness exercise. It's an invitation to be deliberate and to not sink into the biases that I have built up over many years. And it's a reminder to practice compassion.
What are you going to do the next time you run into an ugly situation?
My first thing is always to question someone, because to question someone is to take that next step or open that door.
You gotta first be aware that there is a bias in order to, like, you know, fix it.
Now, Shalal, the restaurateur there, acknowledges that these conversations are first steps, not solutions. He's got a history of being politically active. He ran for mayor of Washington back in 2014. He uses these training sessions, he says, as a way of creating change in his small corner of the world. It was interesting, all those young people had criticism for the typical computer training that a lot of companies do, where you sit by yourself, you take a test, you're done, and you walk out. There's no interaction with other people.
It's true.
Typically on those, right? But here, they really got into this.
I thought it was very interesting. And he said he's been doing this for 14 years,
right, as long as he's had his restaurant. So he's had hundreds of sessions just like this. What I also found really interesting, that's a group of millennials attached to their phones, right?
Right.
We spent most of the afternoon talking. I was pretty worn out after all that. There was a lot of I mean, it was intense, and they were well-spoken, but none of them picked up their phones. You know how you idle, you sort of stuff? They didn't do any of that.
So that training must be working.
Well, they got into it, and I thought it just spoke to a need and a thirst and a desire on the part of at least millennials, at least that group, to do this more, to talk more about this.
And I thought it was interesting what that one young woman was saying. You know, don't say you're colorblind. See me, just understands.
Acknowledge who you are.
Yeah, very
interesting.
Nice. Thank you for that.
Thank you.